Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Kunzman, MD. And like so many disorders in the world, of course, panic disorder has a functional approach. And some of this information might be a little different than what you're used to hearing. And I will give credit at the end because as I was assembling this lecture, there is actually somebody who took some of the words right out of my mouth, and I want to make sure that she has some credit for her blog. So, that being said, there are several potential key contributors to panic disorder, and this is where the functional medicine approach comes in. Of course, I have always talked about some of the fundamental principles of the healing wheel in functional medicine and how that can go back to your underlying problems. Of course, we are talking about nutrition as a foundational issue. And I will say, in the mental health arena, if you are not supplying yourself of any of the basic food for your neurotransmitters, you're going to be deficient in those said neurotransmitters, and they may actually go haywire. So, of course, we've got serotonin playing a role and dopamine and some of the other GABA and glutamate, so the quieting and the excitatory neurochemicals in your nervous system and your brain. And if they are not fed with such things such as tyrosine, L-tryptophan, some of the key nutrients that need to help them function, such as vitamin C, E, B6, magnesium, iron, and some of the fatty acids that help them make the base. Also, you're not going to have enough wiggle room if you have neurotransmitters to work with. The highest concentration of this is at the gut level, as there's a huge serotonin plexus at the gut level. So the gut will be implicated in this as well as your nutritional input. One of my key examples is if you are a carbohydrate junkie or a sugar junkie, you are supplying yourself of a lot of calories, but that is not nutrition. And they are not supplying any of the building blocks to help you with your neurochemistry. So, of course, here we go again, looking at nutritional deficiencies and nutritional input as a potential cause for your anxiety and panic disorders. The functional medicine approach also recognizes that there are people who have a very or can experience a respiratory cardiovascular contribution such that there is, in some people, is an intricate balance between the oxygen and the carbon dioxide ratio as you're breathing in and breathing out and how that interplays. So if some people are having an imbalance with this is enough to trigger that panic disorder, the fight or flight, and talking to that adrenal gland. So in this case, this is why a lot of those breathing techniques are actually the fixer-upper. So there are some people, especially in the Colorado Springs area, that make their livelihood in just the breathing arena because of its importance on mental health. So it can help you regulate this delicate balance, but it also can get you out of a panic attack while you are in that. Sometimes you may need respiratory therapy, a pulmonologist, or types of biofeedback to help you with this regulation. I'll give an example. This one is very classic for those people who are sitting on an airplane and are experiencing panic and anxiety with the air that hasn't been circulated and some of the change in humidity and the staleness of that air is just enough to change a person's oxygen carbon dioxide ratio and trigger a panic attack. There are many others, but that is one of the first ones that comes to my mind. This is so common, I almost feel like I'm stating the obvious, but hormone disorders are many times at the core of this. Some of the hormone disorders that I will see are when women are fluctuating with their ovarian hormones and becoming very estrogen dominant. As I describe, estrogen is quite yang and a yang fire, and progesterone is our yin balance and calmer, which we have much more pronounced in the second phase of the cycle. So there are many women in the perimenopause phase who are not ovulating regularly, are not able to make enough progesterone, and they wind up just having the yang fire of estrogen. And of course, it's fat soluble. It loves to store in the fat stores and release whenever it feels like it, and not enough progesterone to balance the calm. Now, in that hormone family and arena is that darn adrenal gland. And this adrenal gland will start talking to the other hormones in the body. And if the adrenal gland is involved in panic disorder, it can also be associated with, and be careful, some weight gain, some stretch marks in the skin, immune issues, if it is in overdrive. So we really need to quiet the adrenal gland down on a daily basis. And of course, there are functional approaches to that, and the nutrition and the metabolomics, and working on the energy and the mitochondria in the adrenal gland to keep it balanced. As I said, the interplay between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the adrenal gland, that's an HPA axis. We have our ovarian hormones that really play a role. And then if the thyroid is out of balance, such as in Graves' disease or hyper, or every now and then hypothyroidism and underactivity can start yielding this panic disorder, as there is a disruption in the communication between all of these hormones. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of allergic responses, and this is because in the allergic response, histamine is one of the predominant neurotransmitters and predominant chemicals that gets released from the mast cell. Now, histamine is quite agitating, aggravating, hyperstimulatory. It causes a lot of sweating and systemic effects. It is also attributed to the migraine phenomenon and the brain somewhat going on fire. And it also can change what we call the ventilatory threshold and make someone feel as though they're having difficulty breathing. So just when you thought your allergies might be playing a role in this, I think you might be onto something. And histamine can be quieted down through food ingestion, low histamine diets. God forbid we need antihistamines and things to stabilize the mast cell. But we can do a lot of those approaches without the medical model just yet. Medicine may be needed, because there are so many other approaches to supplementation and the orthomolecular approach that may help that. There might be some mineral deficiencies and iron deficiencies and anemia that may be approaching this, as well as any of the excess toxicities that may be wreaking havoc on your system, that might be causing some of these other issues that we talked about as above. So again, these are some of the approaches you may not have heard of in the panic arena. Exercise will always be our friend. Breathing will always be our friend. And then there is the mind-body connection of really going after your purpose, your tribe, your meaning for living, all of those diversion tactics that make you the human you are, such as the arts or music or involving yourself in community activities. Okay, so a quick functional approach to panic disorder, and you can certainly find me if needed at nataliekunsmanmd.com.